It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto, and with me as always, I have Shawn Slaght and Moose Jaw. Shawn, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Thanks, Gary.
And I have Muffler Mike over in Connecticut. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. 67.16, eh, Mike?
Yep.
Starting off on a bang. But I got to tell you guys, I just feel like a captain today. God, all I need is my little tugboat now. Here we go. Just before we get rolling, of course, as always, a reminder to everybody that all of our episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, also Twitch, and on Spotify the following morning. Remember to subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please enjoy all the affiliates across the Streampunk Entertainment Network, like Fly Like an Eagle, Streampunk Cinema, Streampunk Combat, Keeping It in the Ring, all kinds of shows for all kinds of people. If you missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the shows on YouTube, which would include Streampunk Cinema, Streampunk Combat, as well as Streampunk Sports, and of course, All Across all the time. And what will you find when you come to All Across all the time? You would find retro games, interviews, our library of shows, press conferences, fights, and all kinds of other things in there. More coming all the time. Remember, you can stay up to date by going to Streampunk Entertainment, streampunkent.com, with huge, great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also, a reminder that our show is brought to you by 60. 60 is Canada's newest and most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. To get to them, you can use the QR code, which is in the center of our screen, or you can go to Instagram at sweet_60. You can email them at info.sweet60@gmail.com, or go right to their website at www.sweet60.ca/60. Jim and his crew will be more than happy to work with you and get everything going for you. That's enough captaincy, I think. The boat's off and running. Well, I got a couple of things to take care of. First and foremost, I have taken over, of course, as the director of media for Ontario Series Lacrosse. And if you go to the website, you will see that it is up to date now. And I came up with a press release because the Ontario Series Lacrosse is now 7 teams. That is correct. We now have a team that is in Trenton, Ontario. The Trenton Kodiaks are now part of the league, and they are in conjunction with the Coburg Kodiaks of Senior A. So, you'll see players going back and forth. You'll understand why. So that's good news. Love to see expansion. Love to see more teams happening. Love to see summer drives get just a little bit longer. King Central, where I am, that's 2 hours to this one, 2 hours to that one, 2 hours to this one, 2 hours to that one, and then Brooklyn, which is just around the corner. You ever wonder, Mike, when you take these long drives, and it's like you've been going for 4 hours and, it's 45 minutes left. It's like, God, we're almost there. But if I hop my car and try and get to Oshawa, it's like, damn, it's a 45-minute drive. All psychosomatic, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, we had one milestone that was hit, and that was with Matt Sawyer yesterday, who passes Les Bartley in all-time coaching wins and is tied with Pat Coyle at 8th altogether with 94 wins. Congratulations, Matt. Excellent. And that, of course, is courtesy of the Toronto Rock, and thank you to the Toronto Rock for the picture. Yesterday in Rochester, I was up there for the game, and, for all you Blue Jays fans, which includes all of Canada, some people in the U.S., and anybody who doesn't like Los Angeles, well, Ernie Clement happened to be over there, and he's a Rochester boy. And so he, of course, what a great day with Rochester facing Toronto. He was there for the inaugural face-off, and they were honoring him. Had a chance to meet up with him afterwards too. He was a really nice guy. Great to sit and chat for a few minutes. I don't know about you guys, but Old Man Winter has been rearing his ugly head around here. And it was funny because, the places that usually get it, like Buffalo, Rochester, they had a quarter of the snow that we had here in Toronto. We had, we had 2 feet of snow. Terrible, Still shoveling that, There are cars that are hitting it, though, We have specific drivers for this stuff. I couldn't believe that on the way back. There's no cars on the road. All of a sudden, there's like 7 car pileups. It's like the roads are dry. This snowstorm hit 2 days ago. Oh, well. These people will get rid of themselves, I hope. Anyways, over to some ALL action. And we had 4 games on this weekend. And again, we had some pretty strange outcomes. Oh. Not Oliver's like, yeah, well, that's pretty much the same. I like that.
Yeah, they spot on there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dominic. Appreciate that, man. But to get to our games, well, we start off on Friday night over in Children's Arena in Oshawa, and we had an Oshawa team that has been struggling this year, and they were facing the Toronto Monarchs, who are on an upswing. And have been on an upswing for the last few weeks. The thing that is hampering them in this game, though, is 3 of their top 5 scorers were not there. So this will create a problem for the Toronto Monarchs. The other thing is one of the reasons why Oshawa hasn't been doing as well is they are as good as their leader, which is John St. John. And when he's not scoring, they're not scoring. Well, he erupted for 6 goals and 5 assists in this game. And, the writing's on the wall on that one. Oshawa comes away with a 19-12 victory. Jackson Brown in net for Oshawa was spectacular. He was just, standing on his head, as it were. And he came away with the star number 2 in this game. Patrick Thompson had 3 goals for the Monarchs, and he was the 3rd star in this game. It's back and forth, though, first quarter, really, until Oshawa put together a 4-goal run, it was just sitting there at 1-0 for Toronto for a good chunk. Toronto gets 1 back with 50 seconds left in the first, and 4-2. It is after 1. Now, the Monarchs come out in the second, guns blazing, and really took control of the first half of the second quarter, scoring 3. And they were up by 4. But Oshawa comes to life. They score 3 of their own, led by Luke Laskowitz, Britton Hickey, and Josh Gilray. And they are up 7-5 heading into the third quarter after the break. Toronto gets 1 back. Oshawa comes back with another run of 3. Again, John St. John leading the charge with a pair of those goals. Toronto gets 1, but Oshawa again comes back with another 3-goal run, making it 13-7, just starting the fourth. And that really is all she wrote. This game finishes 19-12 for the Oshawa Outlaws. We move on over into the Saturday games. And again, at the Children's Arena in Oshawa, we had the Oswego Bears and the Whitby Steelhawks. Now, Whitby has been finding their way lately. And Oswego has been floundering as of late. And, this is indicative of all of that going on. Whitby winds up winning 21-8. Yes, it was an old-fashioned slobber knocker. Ironically, the first goal in the game went to, you guessed it, Oswego. Then Whitby comes back with a couple, and Oswego answers. Then Whitby, then Oswego. And then Whitby decides that's enough of this, and they get on a 5-goal run. And that really is all she wrote in this game. The biggest thing in this is Whitby's special teams continued to strive. They had a number of power play goals, a couple of shorthanded goals, and really put Oswego on their heels. And they were never able to recover. 7-3 after 1. It was 11-5 at the half. The killer was a 7-2 third which made it 18-7, and then 21-8 as your final. Ugly. Two of the last three games for Oswego have been not good. And the one they won last week was against Oshawa. And they've been sitting with their own troubles lately, too. So I'm not really sure what's going on with the Oswego team, but they need to get on the same page. And we'll get about that when we get to the power rankings in a few minutes. The late game in Saturday in Children's Arena was the Six Nations Snipers facing the Peterborough Timbermen. And again, Six Nations looked to be coming out of the funk that they've been in for the last couple of years of starting strong and finishing not so great. Peterborough, to their credit, has put together their best team that they've put together in the last couple of years. And their number one scorer, Aaron Woods, was in the lineup for this game. And he had 6 goals and 2 assists, right on par for what he normally gets, about 8 points a game. And Peterborough wins 18-10. Now, again, Six Nations comes out with a fantastic start. They are up 5-1 with a couple of minutes left in the first. And then it goes completely south from there. Peterborough just erupts for 5 goals in the second, changes the complexion. They score 6 of the next 7 and change everything all around in the game. Never really let Six Nations get back in the game. First star, of course, was Aaron Woods, 6 goals, 2 assists. Gavin Williamson had 5, only gave up 5 goals in the Peterborough net. They split time between him and Jackson Hayner, who also gave up 5. But Williamson was just spectacular for 2/3 of the game and earned second star. Stone Jacobs was the third star for the Six Nations Snipers with a pair of goals for them. We move into this afternoon, and you had the Brampton Express facing the Paris River Wolves, and Brampton's been on a tear. This is their 4th win in a row. They beat the Paris River Wolves 14-11. Now, Paris, to their credit, really had a bad outing last week, and I wanted to see what was happening this week, and they stayed neck and neck with the number 1 team in the league for 95% of this game. And, I really can't fault them when you're talking about a team that is as good as Brampton and falling just short. And the 3 stars in this game was Curtis Ward for Brampton as the first star, 4 goals, 2 assists. Andy Campbell for Paris with 5 goals and an assist. Gage Board was the third star for Brampton, just with a heck of a game, just doing all the things that stats don't cover. So if we take a look at the standings, Brampton, of course, is in first place, followed by Peterborough, a game back. Whitby is now in third place, tied with Toronto and Oswego. Six Nations is sitting in 6, 2-4, Paris 2-4, and Oshawa 2-4 in a logjam. If we take a look at the power rankings, of course, Brampton is sitting in first place. Again, with their fourth win in a row, the team is rolling. And another really strong defensive showing. The only minor chink in their armor that I can see is giving up 2 shorter-handed goals in the game. 10 individual scores for them is spreading it around beautifully. In number 2 is Peterborough. And this team is top-notch when Aaron Woods is in the lineup. Timberland's leading scorer led all scorers in a big win. Again, Gavin Williamson looked great in net. Between him and Jackson Hayner, this tandem is as good as any in the league. In third, we have the Toronto Monarchs. And although they lost this week, again, like I said, they were without 3 of their top 5 scorers. Really a tough section in the second quarter, had them playing from behind. A really good sign is that the scoring for them is spread out. And it's going to be advantageous as the games get more important down the stretch. Whitby has moved up 3 spots into 4th now. And I remember saying it a few weeks ago, it's only a matter of time before they'd be in the top echelon of the league looking down. And really, they have earned their spot up there now. They're just getting stronger and stronger and gelling more and more. They've scored in the last 2 weeks 35 goals while only giving up 18. Team's only going to get stronger the more comfortable they get. Oswego went down one spot. I debated on putting it further, but for now, one spot. The last few weeks have been rough. 2 lopsided losses in the last 3 weeks. The worrisome thing for me is the lack of scoring for this team. You have guys like Shane Halliwell, Dante Kulas, Eddie Renault, Stephen Portelli, Xander Dilleron. They all need to be engaged. If they can't get on the same page, it's going to be rough. Otherwise, if they can, they will make a lot of noise before the end of this year. In 6th, we got Paris. And although they were defeated by Brampton this week, they put up a really good fight. And it was a real good bounce-back game from the big loss to Toronto last week. And they need to dig deep because they face Oswego next week. And it's them or Oswego for who goes up in the standings. Oshawa moves out of the basement into number 7. They look good in their victory over the Monarchs. Again, the team goes as John St. John goes. And he had 6 goals, 5 assists. To add to the strong offensive showing was the superb goaltending of Jackson Brown. If he's on, the Outlaws can scare any of the top teams. And last, of course, down 2 spots this week is the Six Nations Snipers. Inconsistency is the word that comes to mind when I think about them. For weeks, the Snipers look to be getting stronger with more scoring. Last couple of weeks have been like it's been for the last while. First quarter strong, then less and less and less. This team is plenty talented, but they need to put in a full 60 minutes if they're going to make some noise in the league and get out of the basement. And that covers us through ALL. Gary is smiling. Yes, he is. Eduardo's coming live from St. Augustine, which has less snow than St. Toronto. St. Toronto has quite a bit. 2 feet. In all seriousness, 40 centimeters hit this one. It's about 1.5 feet, Mike. It's lovely. It looked like Christmas.
Yeah,
and
I got
now
a little bit here, and it's still going. It's gonna be going all night probably. So.
Yeah, we're supposed to get to between 2 and 4 centimeters in the next little while, and after getting 40, we just kind of look at that and go. Yeah. It was strange as I was driving through Buffalo and Rochester. You normally get it since they are in a snow belt. I always worry about going through that I-190 little stretch there where, it can be dry on both sides and you get 4 feet of snow in that thing. And then if you're on either side of it, you're stuck wherever you are. So I always kind of, Rochester until Tuesday. My car isn't strong enough to go drive through a 3-foot wall of snow. So, but anyways, it was clean driving. So, we're here. We're back. But it's great to see everybody in Rochester. Yesterday, it was a double whammy because, you're in for the pregame festivities. And, of course, the Bills game's on in the sports bar. And, there was one brave guy wore all Denver stuff.
Very brave.
Very brave guy. Didn't want to tell them I was a Patriots fan, so just kept her quiet. I kept alluding to it's the same colors. But hey, what can you say? But it was fun. It was fun seeing everybody. But that brings us on over to NLL, guys. And, of course, we had a busy week. We didn't have a good week in our pick'ems again. Well, the good news is none of us are below 500 yet. We're working on it. But we're not there.
We're trying our hardest,
We are trying our best. If you're trying to get your mortgage on our pick'ems, you're homeless now. Because we just can't seem to do it. I had a bunch of weeks where I was doing great. And the gods giveth and the gods taketh away. And, here I am sitting at 2 and 5 this week. And even one of those 2, until a minute left in the game, didn't look like he was going to be a win either. But anyways, Pat is leading us, guys. with a 25-17 record. Shawn and I are tied in second. How I'm still up there is beyond me, with 2 weeks of 2 wins each week. And Caden and Mike are at the 500 mark. Congratulations. But our first game on the docket was Colorado and Halifax. And guess what, guys? I got it wrong. I hear that a lot in this next 2 hours.
What?
I got it wrong. I thought Halifax would have more in their tank. I thought they'd have more to prove after last week. But apparently, I was incorrect in my assessment.
Yeah, they ran into a buzzsaw in the form of Dylan Ward, who I have to say he's looking an awful lot like he did in 2022, and that should scare pretty much everyone in the league. Colorado comes away with an 11-6 win. Ward makes 49 saves in the victory. Will Malcolm had a hat trick and 6 assists for 9 points. Welcome back Andrew Q to the lineup, and this obviously had a little bit to do with Colorado's dominance as well. He had a hat trick and 2 assists. Jack Hanna, 2 goals and 3 assists. Dylan McIntosh and Braden Saris each had a goal and an assist. They went 2 for 4 on the power play, but only 7 for 21 on faceoffs. But considering they got a rookie Fogo guy playing up against Jake Withers, that's not too terrible, especially when you come out with the win. For Halifax, not much to speak of. Cody Jamieson had a hat trick. Clark Peterson had 2 goals and an assist. Randy Stotts had a goal and 4 assists, but some big names kind of left out of the net. Dawson Thede, just 1 assist on the night. Jason Knox, just 1 assist on the night. Ryan Terefenko, just 1 assist on the night. That's definitely not a winning formula right now.
Mm-hmm.
14 of 21 on faceoffs and 3 of 6 on the power play. So it's not like they didn't have their chances. We've been talking for weeks about their lack of discipline, and they were handed 6 power plays. 50% conversion, but a few more, and maybe this is a closer game. Warren Hill and Drew Hutchison combined for 36 saves on the night. And Halifax now is below 500. And lo and behold, Colorado is up in the top 5. So anyone worried about that anyone worried about that pick reverting back to Georgia?
Again.
Yeah.
Can't see that happening, but
Can probably breathe a little easier, at least right now. So they are
Right.
4-4-2 through a third of the season. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I didn't see it on my bingo card, but then again, I really didn't expect Andrew Q to be back. But a few other things are going on in there. I can't figure out this Halifax team. I just think they have way too much talent to be looking like they're looking week in and week out now. That's 4 bad ones in a row.
You know what? Their penalties weren't as bad this time, but I mean, as a point that someone just made there beforehand is we're not seeing the hustle out of them. Like,
Nope.
guys are just, lollygagging to the bench and not getting off on transition, and it's just guys just look disinterested. I don't know what's going on there, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I guess I'll add, hate to pick on him, but, he was kind of one of the bigger free agent signings. Brendan Bomberry is just
Nowhere to be found.
nowhere to be found yet.
Yeah, as Pat would say, his
even-
picture is starting to come on a milk carton now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
and I mean, I guess the other thing you could say is, someone else they're really missing is Thomas Hogarth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, it is a big body out front and good hands, right? So it takes away a lot from the game. You're not going to move him, and he can score easily from in front. So, things that were automatic aren't so automatic right now. So it does take a chunk out of it, but it also makes him more one-dimensional, easier to defend.
And since it's almost becoming a running joke now, I got to say it for like the fourth week in a row. Dan Lintner, line one.
Yeah, they are endless. Literally can't.
And you know what? I'm going to add on top of that, and I know we're going to get to it when Shawn covers the game, but Saskatchewan has a little bit of an ace in the hole that some team might want in the form of a right-handed forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many teams should be picking up the phone and talking to Derek Keenan and Jimmy Quinlan about Patrick Dodds?
There are a few actually in Saskatchewan that are, available that are seen in the lineup. They're playing left press box beautifully, but it's nice to be that deep, though. Oh, anyways, that was the first one that I got wrong. We'll keep going wrong. That brings us on over into Bandit Land, and well, let's get the whole ambiance for that one, shall we? There we go. We're in Bandit.
We're in Bandit Land. There we go.
There we go.
We can spell.
Fact,
we can count.
They're that silent at the end of the game.
Indeed. Ottawa comes in and knocks them off 10-9. And, this is one of those games where, really entertaining off the start. And, Buffalo jumped out to a 2-0 lead. And you thought, okay, I've seen this before. And this is going to be the Buffalo getting even for losing to Rochester last week. They don't lose 2 in a row. Buffalo doesn't lose 2 in a row. Three-time champs, Just listen to anybody from Buffalo. They don't lose 2 in a row. But anyways, goals from Dane Smith and Hoke and Anacoke had them up early. The Black Bears got rolling. Jeff Teat and Jacob Dunbar, both with quick sticks. And after one, it was tied 2-2. Dane Smith scores again. Now, sometimes you have to be lucky to be good. And I believe he was passing the ball over to Kyle Buchanan, who missed the pass. And it just kept on floating right on through, right to the top corner. There it was. Anybody else? That sails into the corner. Easy stick save. Nope. Boop. There it went. 3-2. The Black Bears replied with Sam Firth and Jeff Teat to take their first lead of the game, but a late goal from Steve Priolo off a rebound had this tied 4-4 at the half. Very entertaining half. And really end-to-end action, and nobody really got a leg up on one another. Coming out of the intermission, though, as per usual, the Bandits took control of most of the third quarter. But to Ottawa's credit, they didn't let Buffalo run away with the game. In fact, they didn't let them get on any runs, really. The Bandits took a 7-6 lead in that quarter, outscoring Ottawa 3-2. But, they could have, for the way that Buffalo took charge of that quarter, it could have been a whole lot worse. And credit to Zach Higgins, who, by the way, got his 5,000th save in that quarter. Not of the quarter, but in his career. But, you can see why. He was just on his game. The fourth quarter, we saw a different Ottawa team, and we saw really cracks in the Buffalo team. Ottawa erupted for 3 quick goals in the fourth. Jeff Teat, Rob Hellier leading the charge. Teat scored back-to-back goal, followed by a howitzer from Hellier, and that changed the complexion of the game. Teat added another late goal, and the Black Bears were up by 3. Now, of course, every time you think that the Bandits are out of this thing, a couple of minutes left, down by 3, pretty much mail it in, right? Nope. Josh Byrne gets on the board for his first of the night. That's been the difference the last couple of weeks, too. Him and Dane have not been scoring a goal each in this one and the other one. Kyle Buchanan scored late to bring Buffalo within 1 with a minute 3 left. Now, it gets interesting because Ottawa is in this conundrum of, do they shoot up for the empty net?
Do they try and kill clock? Do they have a brain cramp and not know what to do in between both of it? And you can check every one of the boxes at that particular time because they ran down, decided that they weren't sure what they were going to do, and ran around in circles. Didn't shoot, didn't do anything, didn't even try and get it out of their stick, and of course got poke checked, giving Buffalo yet another opportunity to try and tie this game. And boy, 2 opportunities came, and I guess on this night, God was an Ottawa Black Bear fan because for some way this thing didn't go in the net. Ottawa wins 10-9. Thornbear and the Milkman against one another, and this was a classic. Connor Farrell comes away with the 13-10 advantage in faceoffs, but man, it was 11-10 midway through the fourth, and it was neck and neck. It was just toss a coin, and one of them, each time is something different, so you couldn't bank on it. Ottawa went 2 for 4 on the power play in this game. Buffalo went 0 for 0. That's right. Nobody got a chance to spell, Shawn.
Yeah.
Nay was a box piece.
But that's a big thing for Ottawa, though, right? They stayed on the box. And
yep, they did
disciplined. Disciplined in a very physical game.
Yeah.
Yep. Even at the end in the handshake line, it was getting physical. They're all going after Teat. I understand he scored 5 goals on you, but the game's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe try not letting him have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 crow hops on his way to that goal down the middle.
Yeah.
With Paul Dawson just standing there in front of him and not closing the gap.
He actually started at
think was going to happen?
He started at the restraining line, and he wound up almost at the top of the crease when he shot the thing. It was crazy. Buffalo outshot him 53-47. Outface-offed him 13-10. They edged him in loose balls 69-68. All these numbers would say the Buffalo wins. Buffalo even scored a shorthanded goal. But my 3 stars for this game were Jeff Teat as number 1, Zach Higgins for number 2, and Rob Hellier for the 3rd star of this game. And he had a hell of a game too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's how that one played out for us.
Hey, did anyone pick Ottawa? Just checking.
No.
Just checking.
I believe Mike did.
Just
I believe
checking.
that's where we're alluding to.
Yeah,
I know
what we're trying to get to.
I know who didn't pick Ottawa. That was part of my 0-4 Friday night. That's the best I've done in a long time.
But I mean, this, when I made that pick, hey
Dave, how you doing, buddy? Long time.
When I made that pick, I felt this was the time. This was something Ottawa really needed. This was the kind of statement they needed to make. We've been talking for a couple of years now about how they're on the cusp. Really, back to the last year, they were the Riptide in New York. How they were really on the cusp of something special and starting to really build toward being a continuous contender in this league. And I think this is the kind of win to come into Bandit Land. And I believe this is their only meeting of the year, if I'm not mistaken. So head-to-head tiebreaker. There's another, for.
Well, we've been saying this forever, right, Mike? Is if you're going to let Jeff Teat run wild, he's going to kill you. And one cardinal error that Buffalo had, they let Jeff Teat do whatever he wanted to do all night long, especially in the fourth. And he took full advantage.
Well, let's not forget the best fourth quarter team in the league right now is Ottawa. And has been for most of the year.
Yeah, I agree.
Really back to all the way back to week 1 when they beat Saskatchewan. They came from behind.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. Yeah, so it's true.
So this isn't something that just popped up out of the blue. This is something that's been building for a while.
But they're starting to use all their weapons too. It's not just Teat. Teat's finishing, yes.
Yeah.
Hellier's doing a lot of the work. O'Connor's doing a lot of the work. Kiernan's doing a fair amount of the work. We're seeing Dunbar back in the mix now as well. I credit a lot of this to Dan McRae and using guys correctly. And, being cerebral about how he's going about things and having a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, not just kind of winging it along the way. He showed it in junior with Burlington, and he's just bringing it across here now with the Ottawa Black Bears. And they bought in, and they know what they're doing, and they know how to do it. And having Zach Higgins really at the top of his game as well never hurts.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll add to that, Larson Sundown, not just scoring on dunks.
Yeah.
Scoring from in front of the net, in front of goal line extended. I mean, that's the more we see of that, the more of a problem he becomes for defenses. Right. It's not just, okay, now I'm going to wait for him to camp out back and they're going to try the dunk play. And no, like now you need to watch him everywhere on the front end.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, let's move on. We go to the unbox game, and we want to talk about ugly. The score is not indicative of the game because the score is way too close for the game. 19-9, and instead of players getting thrown out, the coach was getting thrown out. And like I told you guys off air, Josh Sanderson thought that Edmonton was dusty because he kept telling the officials to grab the vacuum. Vacuum. Too dusty. Vacuum. They needed a vacuum. Josh Sanderson said it at least 3 times on his way to the room.
Yeah, this one was ugly. I think that's just the best way to put it. 19-9 win for Georgia. And maybe they were listening to all we were saying about Lyle Thompson. Puts up 4 goals and 6 assists, 10 points, which we've been kind of waiting for all year. Torrin Eccleston back in the lineup. That made a huge difference. 4 goals and an assist. 3 goals, 5 assists from Brian Cole. It's just all over. Keen Moon, rookie who just comes in now, 2 goals and 2 assists. He looked unbelievable. Shane Jackson, 3 goals, 3 assists. He had a goal and 5 assists from Nolan Byrne. I think we really saw what this Georgia team can do when they're firing all cylinders.
Well, we knew they had good defense, and Dobson's had a great year all year, but now to add scoring to it as well. And Torrin Eccleston brings more than just scoring. He brings grit.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't mind fighting. He doesn't mind banging around. He doesn't mind doing all the things in front of the net, side of the net, corners that I think they lacked the last few weeks. He just added a whole new flavor to the Swarm, to the look that they give, enough that Calgary was a little gun shy and on their heels pretty much from the beginning. And when things started dropping early, they really, once they pulled Aiden Walsh, they really had no more answers.
But yeah, and I mean, when you go down 6-0 pretty much right off the bat, that just kills any type of momentum you're even going to try and get. You put yourself in a massive hole right off the bat. And I mean, when it's 14-2 in the third quarter.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you look at the numbers, Georgia outshot them 55-50. Calgary won the faceoff battle 26-6. Like, you look at this in the time of possession, Calgary should have all kinds of things going on, but that wasn't the way it worked out here. And
I agree with you. I mean, the defense and goaltending has never been the issue with Georgia. It was, when's this offense going to, for lack of a better term, just wake up and wake that sleeping monster that is Lyle Thompson, which happened on Friday night.
But even getting, guys like Nolan Byrne being facilitators and with 5 assists, the goal and 5 assists, but the 5 assists is the thing that really stands out to me, is it's not just Lyle Thompson doing all this stuff, is you have secondary guys doing it. Shane Jackson had 3, but he also had 3 assists. And, the offense was rolling and they were moving the ball around again, which is something I really hadn't seen. A lot of things were fractured over the last number of weeks. Guys were trying to do it themselves. They had a few injury problems, but nothing major. But
no.
Wow. Seth Van Scheppen, what a great game he had. He started it all off.
Yeah.
And he really set the tone. And right then you knew that the transition game was going to work. These guys were going to go. It put Calgary, again, on their heels, not knowing what was coming at them. And if you're guessing, you're in trouble, especially in this league.
Yeah. Yeah, and I find it unfortunate. And we'll get to it. I think, Calgary is still, I think a decent team. I feel like it's just one of those nights that it wasn't theirs. Like you said, it's just one of those off nights where nothing was going to go right for you.
Well, here's the question also, Shawn, is the fourth quarter, they pulled Dobson and give him a break. And they put in Devlin Shanahan, who let 5 goals in 10 shots. How ugly do you think this could have been if the way Dobson was dialed in, if he stayed in the net? Now, granted, you win by 10 or you win by 2 is a win's a win, right? But just for the sheer embarrassment factor, the score doesn't look nearly as bad as the game was.
I mean, it was 16-4 heading into that fourth quarter. I maybe could have given him 1 or 2 the way he said Dobson was dialed in. Put you up to 6. You'd look at 19-6 then, maybe. Either way you look at it. I got a
little bit of information out of this game, outside of just the game itself, from Patrick Major. If you're looking on Twitter at El Capitan Picks, you can find him also on Daily Dive on that podcast as well. And the Oilers are interested in the team, and there was an attempt originally with Panther City to bring them over there a couple of years back, but it would be Georgia from the rumors moving on over there, if not Philadelphia. So either or.
They had just under 7,000.
But apparently that didn't have anything to do with it either. There could have been 7 people in there, and it really had nothing to do with what the Oilers were looking at in this thing either. And that comes from a little bit further up than just rumblings around the floor. There's.
So I'd be curious to know what's changed such that the Oilers are interested now, when 10 years ago Bruce Urban moved the team to Saskatchewan because the Oilers had 0 interest.
And that's always been my fear, even if the Oilers are in ownership, is how serious are they really? Right. Even if they have a team, are they just eventually just going to give up on it?
I think it's.
We saw what happened with Panther City. So
if you do business sense correctly with an NHL team, and here's my theory on this one, and listen to me on this one, because it's working in Calgary, it's working in Buffalo, it's working in Vancouver. You are including your season ticket holders in the package of lacrosse tickets. You're not trying to sell them. They are included in the package price for your season tickets. And on your paperwork, you are dividing it this way and that way, and that's how you're getting your base crowd in there. This is for your TV shots that you have those things there. Now, what you're going to be doing with this as well is that, of course, they're going to have other perks to go along with it as Oilers fans also, and inter-promotional things as well. So the word gets out. Now, I heard there was not a whole lot of advertising on this one, and that's a shame. But if they have a stake in this as their own team, there will be. And that allotted budget, again, remember, if they can show a loss on the one side, that offsets the gains that they have on the other side. But you also have people working because you have less black nights in your arena since you own your arena. And the goal is to have it filled 365 nights a year to be a cash cow. And you're going to try and generate that revenue any way you can. Hence, using those season ticket packages to put people in there for your concessions, which you now have 100% of as well. So there's a lot of other layers to it, let alone merch and the other things that come along with it. And, the outside things of parking and things like that go along also with it. But part and parcel, that would be how it would work. And it doesn't work with an outside owner. It only works if it is the primary owner of that arena. Hence what we see things working. That's why you're seeing attendance blossom in Buffalo. That's why you're seeing attendance blossom in Vancouver. That's why you're seeing it always been good in Calgary. That was one of the reasons why it was working so well in Toronto, because when the Bill Waters group had the Rock for those first 10 years or 12 years, well, Bill Waters was in tight with the Maple Leaf organization.
I get where you're coming from, Gary, but I'm more kind of with Mike. Like, from my understanding, is the Oilers had an opportunity to buy the team from Bruce Urban, and they passed. So why now?
I think by the time the Oilers were, the Rush was a viable team, that had already been written on the wall. That decision was already made. Remember, they were the lovable losers for the number of years there that nobody was going to and nobody cared about. And then all of a sudden, Derek Keenan came in there and did something nobody thought he would do, is put a winner out. And, what's the worst thing that can happen to you? You win in the last year as you're moving, right? Well, what did they do? They won. Yeah. And then they won again in their new home. First time ever I think that's happened. The only thing I think that would be more of a kick in the teeth would be what happened to Quebec City when the Nordique left and went to Colorado. And after all the hard work and struggle and pain and all of the losing seasons, the first year they go to Colorado, they win the cup.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's the worst thing that could happen. But it was right in that same mantra. And when they had the new arena, of course, Edmonton Oilers were on the upswing. And that was the flavor. And that's where they're going to put all their time and energy, never really thinking about the Rush, never really caring, because nobody ever did in the first place. By the time it took, to care, that was already a broken down thing with Urban and Edmonton. Things had already been set to go to Saskatchewan. They were leaving. They win. Oh, God. And now they're going. So I think it's probably different people in the top positions in Edmonton right now as well. But also that maybe they have seen the business plan, and also the NLL of 10 years ago and the NLL of now are not the same NLL. There are much different business presentations. There are much more professional presentations. There was no idea that the lacrosse was going in the Olympics and looking for that kind of explosion of that on the main scene. Now you might be on the ground floor of something that's going to be huge. And I think
that's a good point.
We're
talking 10 years ago now that Nick Sakevich put in the business model
Yeah.
that he did when he was commissioner, where
Right.
when they did this wave of expansion that, San Diego, Philly, the Riptide, the new Rochester Nighthawks, etc., Panther City, they were, well, maybe not Panther City, but they were picking markets where deals were favorable with NHL or NBA owners, in those arenas where they could make the partnerships work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And again, the business model now with, again, Fanatics and a few other things that are going on, let alone if you look, they have rolled out probably a dozen partnerships just with Brett Fruit in the last 2 years. Maybe not things that are right in your face as a consumer, but things that behind the scenes are a whole lot better for us, especially us as people who cover the games media-wise, and have much more reliable sources and equipment that are coming at us and much more in-depth.
And they're serving to stabilize the franchises that are, for lack of a better word, in trouble.
That was Fruit's mantra, right where the heart. The very first person to get an interview with him when he first got on, that was me. Frank and I got it with 3 days in at that draft. And that's the first thing he talked about, was making sure that the franchises that they had before thinking about any more expansion were stable. And he has spent the last couple of years either, trying to find homes, moving things around, getting things in better markets. And that's why you see all this movement around. We're trying not to lose franchises, but, Panther City, I would have loved it if they went down to Edmonton. But, it is what it is. Maybe if they held on for a year or two more and this had come up with the unboxed thing, because that hadn't happened yet either. or was in real infancy. This
True.
that this could have happened, and we could have saved another 24 jobs, let alone all the behind the scenes people. Because if you don't think that some of them move with the team, just take a look at the media person in Oshawa. It's the same one I dealt with in Albany. So some of them do move. So it's not just start new.
Yeah.
It kind of mixes together. All right, let's keep moving along here. We have Vancouver and San Diego as our next one, and another strange one. And I'll tell you who didn't get this one.
Yeah, unfortunately, no
I really
one
don't
did.
know very much.
No one got this one. I think anyone saw this one coming.
Yeah, San Diego comes into Vancouver and gets away with an 11-9 victory. Trey Leclerc, 2 goals, 4 assists for San Diego. Pat Kavanaugh, 2 goals, 2 assists. Zach Courier, 2 goals, 2 assists. Dylan Watson had a pair of goals and an assist. They got a goal and an assist from Danny Logan, an empty netter from Eli Gobrecht to ice it. Connor Robinson, a goal. Wes Berg, 3 assists, no goals. So, to me, that kind of makes this win a little more impressive when your top scorer is not finding the net. Chris Origlieri bouncing back from a couple of bad outings with 41 saves.
Remember, he was injured too with the groin injury, so he came back real quick.
Yeah. So, and you'll hear more about them from me a little later this evening. Trevor Baptiste, 19 to 24 on faceoffs, 9 loose balls. For Vancouver, you had a hat trick out of Adam Charlambides. Keegan Ball, 2 goals, 2 assists. Marcus Clarich had a goal and 2 assists. Phenomenal job at the end of the game there by Marcus Clarich. Keegan Ball had brought them within 2 with just over a minute left. And on the ensuing faceoff, Baptiste wins the draw, and Marcus Clarich does just a phenomenal job of stripping him and taking it to the house and bringing them within 1. And we'll get to the wonderful theatrics after that shortly. Curtis Dixon, a goal and an assist. Should it have been 2 goals? Shane Simpson and Reed Bowering each had a goal. Jesse King had 3 assists. After that Claridge goal, Vancouver gets possession after another big hit late on a San Diego player, causing a loose ball. And Dixon comes streaking in off the bench and appears to score an amazing crease dive goal, as we've seen so many times in his career. And they call it no goal. Not sure what the ref saw, but it went to replay, and replay was inconclusive. The best angle they had showed Danny Logan blocking Curtis Dixon's right foot, which may or may not have dragged into the crease. We know his left foot was clear, but the no-goal call stands, and San Diego survives. So, I mean, this to me, this was, they're going to play twice this year. And we know San Diego has not been good at home, which, again, I'll get to in a little bit. But this was really a chance for Vancouver. You know, this is one of those rivalries. It's been kind of lopsided in favor of the Seals, but every game has been just knocked down, drag out since San Diego's come into the league and since the Warriors have moved downtown. You know, this has become a pretty heated rivalry. And this was a chance really for the Warriors to really put San Diego in a hole, in a deep hole, with regard to having to climb out to try to make it into the playoffs. So, kind of a missed opportunity the way I see it, but they will meet again in San Diego later this year.
Right. All right. We finally get out of Friday night my Owen. Very happy to get out of Friday night because, Friday wasn't kind. And we move into Saturday, and the first game on the docket, I didn't get either.
No one did.
No one did.
Well, Toronto went into Rochester, and, the way things have been going, and especially with Rochester beating on Buffalo last week, every one of us picked Rochester in our pick'ems, and every one of us was wrong. Toronto outlasts Rochester 11-10, and really a tale of two games. Because the first half, the old Toronto Rock of not going inside, taking shots, but Ryland Hartley just absolutely doing everything he could. I think he stopped 4 breakaways in the first quarter. He was just on his game, and right off the hop. The opening was Thomas McConvey blasting a shot from the outside off a Ryan Lansbury pass 2.5 minutes into the game, and that was the only goal in the first. Now, was there not a lot of things going on? Lots of things going on. But both goalies looked sharp off the hop. Nick Rose in net for Toronto. We head into the second, and the Rock got on the board with CJ Kirst doing a little spinorama and doing what he does so well, scoring from in front off an Owen Hiltz pass. Just a minute into the second quarter, we were tied. Rochester gets back on track. Connor Fields scores back-to-back goals. The first was off a Lansbury pass from in close. On a delayed penalty from the outside, he fired up another Lansbury pass, and it was now 3-1. Nighthawks increased their lead when Lansbury himself just absolutely a laser off a Kyle Waters pass at 5:56, followed by a sidearm snipe from Fields for his third of the game, first third of the quarter, off a Ryan Smith pass about midway through the quarter. The Rock finally stopped his 4-goal run when Dan Craig scored from the top of the crease off of Mark Matthews' pass, but the Nighthawks come back again, this time shorthanded with Ryan Smith scoring with just 5.1 seconds left in the quarter in the half. Just an absolute killer, you would think. But it was 6-2 at the half, and everybody there thought this is another one that, Rochester's going to run away with. Toronto, to their credit, and are not notorious for this, really changed up their strategy. And they started battling hard inside and around the net. And they opened up the scoring when Mark Matthews finished a Challen Rogers pass shorthanded, followed by Dan Craig blasting a Matthews pass 50 seconds later from the outside to bring the Rock within 2 goals. Rochester got back in track with Graydon Hogg scoring from in close off a Ryan Smith pass. Now, the thing is this. He made contact with Rose. Rose fell down heavy, was shaken up, and had to leave the game. So midway through the third quarter, Troy Holochuk goes in the net for the Rock. And there's many a Rock fan that was there that went, uh-oh, as we move along further. Toronto narrowed the gap to 2 goals once again when Owen Hiltz scored off a quick stick from a CJ Kirst pass. And it was 7-5 after 3 quarters. Now, everything that was put Holochuk's way, he was equal to the task. He looked dialed in right from his moment in there. Chris Boucher brought the Rock within 1 on a great individual effort, diving from behind the net off a Challen Rogers pass at 1:24. But McConvey was able to score his second of the night from in close off a Kyle Waters pass, again restoring that 2-goal lead. Hugh Kelleher with a beautiful unassisted goal, just a laser to the corner in transition, followed by a blast by Sam English to tie the game 28 seconds later. Toronto took their first lead of the night when Owen Hiltz fired a low-to-low shot off a Challen Rogers pass at 6:57. But the Nighthawks would again tie the game on the power play when Ryan Lansbury converted a Ryan Smith pass. Then Connor Fields scored his 4th of the night off a Kyle Waters pass, retaking the lead with just over 5 minutes left in the game. Toronto, instead of just putting their tail between their legs, put together a flurry. They were all over buzzing like bees in a beehive around Ryland Hartley and the Rochester net. Owen Hilt scored with a high-to-high blast, unassisted at 10:42 to tie the game. And then, with just 58 seconds left, Mark Matthews finds a clear path to the net, bounces a shot to the far corner, and that is your game winner. A hell of a game, which had everybody down to the wire. And, of course, Rochester, with the goalie pulled, tried a few things also and just couldn't get the ball in the net. Toronto wins 11-10. 3 stars on this game was Owen Hiltz as number 1, Connor Fields number 2, Mark Matthews as the number 3 in this game. Shots favored Rochester 59-45. Troy Holochek was exceptional. He gave up 3 goals in the 22 or 23 minutes he was in net, faced a ton of rubber, and was stellar. Single-handedly held the Rock in there until they could get moving. Owen Hiltz had another spectacular game and finishing, which he's had trouble doing since coming up, but man, he looked good. Kirst, though he only had 1 goal, was facilitating. English also was buzzing all over the place. So if you're worried about the first-round picks, they are the future, and they are looking good. The future seems to be now. The face-off battle went to the Nighthawks 15-9. They edged the Rock in loose balls. I believe it was 85-82. Toronto went 1 for 3 on the power play, scoring a shorthanded goal. Rochester went 1 for 4 on the power play, scoring a shorthanded goal. Overall, Toronto looked good in this game, top to bottom. Probably the best all-round performance I've seen them play against a really, really tough opponent. And that has jettisoned them up in the standings into the playoff spots. They're now sitting with a winning record of 3-2. And they have Georgia next week, so it's going to be a tough test also at home. So my next tour is over to Hamilton, if you're keeping track on your map.
Do we want to map out the crease?
Well, you know, there was a lot of controversy in this about the Rock playing goalie in the Bandit rule, and one was being called, and they scored on a delayed penalty. The other wasn't called, and Rochester was upset about that one, but it is what it is. When I was talking to the Rock people, they weren't in the crease, so you know, you take your pick. Rochester says he was. Toronto says he wasn't. Can you imagine? Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, here's Mike Hazen with his post-conference.
Came out and they established physicality on both ends of the field, and it was a disciplined physicality. Is that something that you guys were prepared for? Because it seemed like you guys at first were able to kind of find some things, but then they really locked in after the first quarter.
Yeah, no, they were really good. I think I just don't think we were ready to play. Period. At the end of the day, we came in here Friday night. We we're very good in practice, and it just kind of carried over here tonight that we just weren't mentally ready to do what it takes. Whether it be a bit of a hangover from that emotion we had against Buffalo last week or what have you, but we weren't ready to play. Again, they jumped on us, and we were lucky to be in that game, even though 5-2 at that one point. We were lucky to be in that position because we weren't at our best.
Well, one of the guys that was playing really well, particularly in the first half, was Ryland Hartley. He really had a lot of great saves in that first half, which allowed the team to establish a lead going into halftime.
100%. He was bang on. He was our one bright spot, I think, here tonight as far as the overall team group goes. He was on his game, and he saved our ass, because it could have been, like I say, 4 breakaways in the first quarter that he just stoned them on, and multiple more, and again in the second quarter as well. He was really good, and he gave us an opportunity to wake up. We just didn't wake up.
You guys signed Cap as a free agent. He played last weekend, 3 games in. What have you seen from him so far? Because he's really looked impressive so far.
Yeah, like last weekend, he gave us a handful more possessions than we were getting the first couple of games, which gives us a little opportunity to sort of get on that roll, stop their runs a little bit. And tonight, again, without having the face-off guy there, he gave us that opportunity to, no matter what, we had pretty much had the ball in our stick. A couple ones got away from us where we just didn't quite battle hard enough, kind of expecting it to go exactly to where we wanted it. But he's doing a good job for us. And again, more possessions for our own, less time on the floor for RD is good recipe for us.
From on top, it looked like on the Toronto go-ahead goal, shot got blocked in front and didn't go up hardly. They get a reset and score. Did you see the same thing?
Yeah, that's what we was trying to challenge on that. Like the 30 shot clock hit 0, and even before the shot clock there. So it was one of those ones that another one that was missed.
4-2 through 6 games, 33% of the season over. How would you assess the 4-2 start?
Big picture, pretty good start, and again, especially after last weekend, having the opportunity and being able to grab the 2, put us in a good spot to be in a better position. So this one's a little bit disappointing, but big picture, we'll take it, and we just got to move forward.
Well, it says it all, really. I mean, overall, in the third of the season, and Rochester's looking pretty good. I am pretty enthused with what I'm seeing. That Toronto just gets better each and every time they're out there. So, interesting to see how bad the Rose injury is. Nobody was saying anything after the game. There's a lot of smiles over in the Rock dressing room, and Troy Holochuk was given game ball because he was just fantastic in that. Knew he had this in him. It's just how often can you get this out of him? So, he's my guest this week on NLL Lacrosse Talk. So we'll be talking about that and a whole lot of other things. Tune in Thursday at 4 p.m. if you're interested in listening to me interview Troy Holochuk. But that'll bring us over to our next one. And Saskatchewan hosting Oshawa, who was coming off a great showing against Halifax last week. And do you think that they could keep it going? Shawn?
Yep. And upon automatic video review, Saskatchewan won 15-10 because we had plenty of video reviews in the first quarter alone, 3 of them to be exact. And a little bit of controversy as well. So Ethan Walker scores 33 seconds into the game. 10 seconds after that, Ryan Keenan appeared to score. We had a conflict. One referee, the head referee says a good goal. Secondary referee said no goal. Go to automatic review. It appeared that the ball hit the post and did not cross the line. A couple of views kind of showed that. Yet they called it inconclusive again. And because the head referee called it a good goal, it counted as a good goal and tied up the game. And because of that, I mean, how hot is Ryan Keenan right now? 10 goals, 9 assists in the past 2 games. He had 4 last night, 4 goals, 3 assists. Austin Shanks, 2 goals, 5 assists. Zach Mans, 2 goals and 3 assists, including an unbelievable one where he got off the bench quick. Frank Chiliano found him downfield. And he went upstairs. It almost looked like he tried to go between his legs, but he kind of did an underhand scoop that went by Doug Jamieson as he was in the air. It was an unbelievable goal. Shots, the rush outshot Oshawa 53-44. Jake Naso was 22 for 29. So he just continues to just dominate on the faceoff dot for the rush. Power plays, probably maybe a little bit of a bright side for Oshawa. They were 4 for 7, while the Rush were 1 for 1. And so, yeah, for this, I mean, the Rush now have won 5 straight, and they're 6-1. So they're the only team now with 1 loss in the standings.
Mm-hmm. Well, any questions about how determined Saskatchewan is to make a statement about losing last year in the finals? You know.
Yeah, you think they want to get back?
I think they're putting the league on notice that they are the team to beat. Nobody else.
Like I said, maybe a little bit tongue in cheek, like Brian Keenan, early MOP, like the numbers he's putting up right now are just ridiculous. He's just having a career year, and he's not to say he hasn't never looked like that number 1 pick, but he's really looking like it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how, a number of teams are with bye weeks this week to get healed up. So the following week after that, when we have back to 7 or 8 games, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
I guess the interesting story too, as we learned in the press conference, with Ryan Keenan's 4 goals, he was actually playing with Brock Haley's stick because his equipment somehow didn't show up. So he even did that without his own equipment.
Right.
Nice.
I have Quinlan for the press conference, a clip from him, and let's listen to Jimmy.
Big win tonight. Just kind of your thoughts on how things went tonight.
Yeah, a bit of a sleepy start. I think we were kind of a little slow there out of the gate. Again, the game was a little bit weird to start with the reviews and the goals that we didn't know if they were going to stand, and then I think we kind of found our footing there. The defense was unbelievable for 28, 29 minutes there afterwards. And then our offense got going, and then, again, a little bit of a odd second half with the number of penalties we had to kill, but again, we got through it, and I think we've earned a break here.
What was your thought in that second half? Because it looked like things kind of got away from you guys a little bit.
Yeah, I think, again, it was kind of at points. I mean, you look at the third quarter, and we didn't really possess the ball too much, but only we're down 3-2 in that one. So, again, we had a 3-goal lead into the fourth, and I felt like every time they pushed, we pushed back, and I think that's a sign of a team that's maturing and kind of understands the importance of getting the next goal. So, again, I don't think we ever let them really get more than 2 in a row, which in lacrosse is huge.
You mentioned all those reviews. I guess, is there anything on the bench that you can do when there's kind of a lot of stopping of that momentum and a lot of breaks? You guys focused?
Yeah, again, I think it's kind of reset. It's kind of understanding the scenario. So, whether if it's going to be a goal, we got to have our face-off team ready. If it's going to be no goal, are we getting the ball, or are we on defense? Who's going to be out on the floor? What's the strategy to break the ball out if necessary? So, again, there's a lot of stuff in there, and thankfully tonight they didn't take too long.
Ryan has 10 goals in 2 games now. What can you say about his play lately?
Yeah, he's hot. Again, I think what's nice about Ryan is he does a lot of work without the ball, and he's been very good with it. And so, again, I think for our young guys, him or Ryan, Robert Church and Austin Shanks are tremendous guys to learn from. And I think you're starting to kind of see a lot of those young guys' games rounding into shape. And it's, again, all because of those old guys who just do it the right way.
What's your thoughts on a 6-1 start?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, obviously, we like where we are, but again, I think we're going to use this bye week to get healthy, and then just to kind of try to stay after it, because again, it's a tough league to win in, and so it's a humbling league. Anytime you kind of get the cart in front of the horse, you get it handed to it. So for us, it's just kind of staying even keel and just taking care of what we can control.
And what is the message heading for the bye week now?
Get healthy, stay after the fitness, and enjoy some time off. Okay, thank you.
So words to live by, isn't it? Stay healthy, stay out the fitness, and let's get back at it.
It's all business.
Absolutely. All right, that brings us to our last game of the week, and an entertaining one nonetheless. Philadelphia and Las Vegas meet up with one another, and another one of these things where the Wings start good and don't continue good.
Yeah. 10-7, they dropped to Vegas. Sorry, just gonna punch it up here.
A good bounce back game for Landon Kells after a rough one last week. And he comes in with 37 saves in this one. Nick Demood looked pretty good too with 48. 48 saves in this game, but he got peppered. Once again, the Philadelphia defense was doing things of old and allowing a lot of travel, a lot of things in there. The defense that I saw that started the year and even in preseason was more of a black and blue kind of defense. I don't know if they're just tired, but they don't seem to have the same ferocity as they did early on. Am I missing something, or am I okay with this? What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious where it's gone to. I mean, you get out to a 1-0 lead, and then you proceed to just give up 4 straight goals, and it's like I don't know, like they can't all of a sudden they can't get out of their own way.
Yeah,
and it seems like it's inexplicable. I mean, I mean, I think it's going to get better once they're able to get Scott Dominy and Bo Columbus back. And I
In
hope
the meantime, though,
I mean, I hope both
Yeah.
guys are only a week or two out or something. But
Even then, we've
strange,
seen
but
them-
that defense gave up 58
Yeah.
shots on Damoud.
We've seen them better than that. That's
yeah, it's inexplicable. I just wonder. I mean, do you think at this point in the season that Pat McCready's still in like a tinkering sort of mode
It's been 2 years.
with
I don't know what-
pieces?
I don't know what you're tinkering with now. I think every week they've got to try something new because it's not working. But even when you're taking a look at the scoring, the guys that are supposed to be scoring are scoring. They're just not scoring near enough. Brendan O'Neill with 2 goals, Eric Fennell with 2 goals. Caputo with a goal. That's not enough. You're not going to win many games like that. You're certainly not going to win many games only scoring 7 goals. So, there's a number of things that are going on here. Now, we were talking about, back-to-back games coming up with San Diego. I don't know if that's what the doctor ordered now. They look like they've, kind of found their mojo all of a sudden.
Yeah, and I mean, nothing in transition either. I mean,
Well, they don't have a transition game right now. Liam Patton is about it.
and Chris Corbeil had a goal,
reveal.
but
Yeah.
Dustin Burkhoff, no points. Patrick Foley, no points. Liam
Mhm.
Patton, no points. Davis Allen, no points. Messenger, no points. Ryan Wagner, no points.
On the other hand, Vegas, who, really didn't look themselves last week, this was more the kind of game. However, again, I don't know if it's just Philadelphia not playing great offensively. Their defense looked good on Vegas. Now, is that a case of the other team's lack of offense making, a mirage that your defense looks great? Because, again, then the night that Vegas looked good against Toronto, I thought their offense, took a vacation.
I mean, it very well could be.
Now,
You know,
it could
I
also
mean,
be the defense is going so well that it's making the offense take a
I like
vacation.
the other side of it with Vegas too. You have all that firepower and you only put up 10.
I credit Damoud with that because they had 58 shots, so it's not from lack of trying.
Yeah, and I mean, Vegas found themselves on defense a lot more often than on the front end. I mean, only 5 out of 20
Yeah.
on faceoffs. So,
That's interesting too.
yeah,
Nick
Barlett really besting Tyrell Hamer-Jackson. Sure people didn't have that on their bingo card.
No. I did have the right winner. I'll stay with that. This was one of my 2.
We all did.
That one, yeah.
I'm talking about your card. My card only had
That was our best game of the week.
Like you say, my card only had 2. This was one of them. So let me have my moment in the sun. Because the way I was going, I might have picked Philadelphia.
I mean, I guess overall, I mean, I hate to frame it as just, sort of a cop out, but I mean, a win's a win. They got that win. They're back to 500. They're right in the mix, on the edge of the playoff window, both sides really. I mean, they're in a tie with Georgia and Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo's technically got head-to-head on both Georgia and Las Vegas right now because they've beaten them both.
Yeah.
Right.
Georgia and Las Vegas haven't played, but Georgia has a better goal differential right now. So, I mean, if you want to place them, 9th they're still looking in, but I mean, they've already played a couple of tough matchups. Some that they probably weren't expected to win that they did.
Yeah.
We talked about this with Philly though last week with Pat. And does Blaze Riordan have a role? Well, he had 1 assist in this game. No goals. Does he have a role?
I still think no.
I don't think he does.
Yeah.
But Joe Resetaritz, you need him to score. That's what he's paid to do, is score. And he had 4 assists, no goals. You're not winning. If your number one guy isn't scoring, you're not winning. Now, you can say that number one guy is Brendan O'Neill now. I'm not convinced. I still look at the track record and think Resetaritz is my guy still.
Yeah.
I have a long lineage of history of him doing amazing things for a number of teams and doing it continuously. And he's getting no goals. Thumbs up.
I mean, is that the crux of the problem now with the offense?
That nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing? I'd say so.
Oh,
We
yeah.
talked about this in the first time we talked about this.
Well, but I think beyond that there's maybe a division as far as who's the primary goal scorer.
I'm thinking that Mitch Jones had a lot more on the say-so of what's going on as the quarterback when he was there, and now that he's not there, it's missing that piece, and nobody really knows how to fill that in. Resetaritz is trying, but Jones was able to get goals as well as assists. Resetaritz, as your facilitator, is getting no goals and a few assists. He's not walking away with 8 assists in an evening. He's walking away with 3 or 4. But I take a look at the rest of the team, and nobody's replacing the goals that Resetaritz is good for in a game. Now, to a lesser extent, we talked about this with ALL and Aaron Woods playing for Peterborough. Right? He's good for 8 points. He's good for 6 goals. And when he doesn't play, Peterborough loses. So you take out that production from Peterborough, and they're not doing well. Take out his production here in Philadelphia, and then guess what? Their offense is anemic.
Yeah.
Now you take away another gun with Blaze Riordan, who doesn't really know what he's supposed to be doing right now, and is just kind of playing it by ear, and he's just flailing away too. So there's 2 big scorers that aren't doing anything. 2 big zeros. And you wonder why you have 7 goals. And 3 of them are from your defensive guys. Fennell with a couple, Corbeil with 1. Phil Caputo's been on both sides of the ball too. So whether he's in transition, offense, defense, who knows? That just depends on the quarter and the day, if he's even in the lineup. So I'm not even sure they're being used correctly. I would say right now, if you have any prowess of scoring, any sort of hands, you are now my offensive guy, and I will worry about defense elsewhere because I'm not getting it from anywhere. And I have a number 1 overall pick in O'Neill.
Yeah, and maybe another number 1 pick coming if they continue this trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But will they even be in Philadelphia?
Yeah, well, that really begs some questions. Because
how long are you expecting your fan base to tolerate this again? In Wings version 2.0, when they started going with
that,
All-American crew,
I'm looking ahead to the scenario that we potentially discussed earlier, where it's them and not Georgia who ends up in Edmonton. And now,
Yeah.
what do you do with this team when your top guy, your number 1 draft pick, is an American player who let's be honest, is more proficient in field right now than he is in box. You have another star player who's more proficient in field than box in Sowers,
Yeah.
who's local right now,
Yeah.
who likely isn't going to want to be making 9 trips to Alberta a year.
Well, and the other interesting, history thing is, although kind of different roles, Gary was talking about those lean years with Edmonton. Who was behind the bench?
Yeah.
Paul
Who
Day.
was the GM? Yeah, Paul Day.
Paul Day.
Interesting. There's a lot of little things here that I don't know. You'd have to be making trades. This would remind me of when Rochester was moving to Halifax, and interesting when players were going all over the place, like Matt Vince to Buffalo and so, guys who were not going to go to Halifax. They just weren't. So you were getting rid of them for whatever you could get for. So did you get?
That's how New England got Resetaritz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But were they getting what they were
going
worth?
to Halifax?
No, because they weren't going to go anyways. But so, yeah. So are we in that same scenario? I guess that depends which team, if any team, is going there. So, but stay tuned. All right, that is the week that was. And upcoming next week, we have a lighter week. We only have 4 games on the docket. San Diego is in Philadelphia. Vancouver is in Ottawa. Georgia is in Toronto. And Oshawa is in Colorado. Well, at least I can only do 0-4. It hurts when it starts going. You're thinking you're going to go 0-7. Yeah. So I'm starting to think whatever I pick, I'm going to go the other way, and that might be the remedy. Be back on track. Saturday, I really will use the dartboard, and there we go. Because using logic,
that's what we did this past week.
Yeah.
So.
All right, this brings us up to a new little feature that Mike had thought up about us. And at this stage of the season, basically we're at the 1/3 mark, and we're looking at who are buyers and who are sellers. Buyers being who is not in the playoffs, going into the playoffs. Sellers who might be in the playoffs and are going to be out of the playoffs later on, for what we think. Mike, I'm going to start with you. Let me put up your little thing here. And you were thinking about buying San Diego.
Yeah, so I'll start with San Diego because I'm going to give all the Bandit Land who's might be watching this podcast time to stew for a bit here. But I have a very good argument, I believe.
It's good for rating.
So
Yep.
San Diego 2-3 right now. They're if the playoffs started today, they would not be in. I believe they will turn things around. And you look at that 2-3 record, the 2 wins are road games and they're 0-3 at home. Very surprisingly, there's a number of teams right now that have already lost multiple games at home that, their home venues are traditionally very difficult places for a road team to win. Buffalo already has 2 losses in Bandit Land, and we're only a third of the way through the season. Calgary already has 2 losses. They haven't won at home yet. San Diego hasn't won at home yet. They're 0-3. Halifax has 2 losses at home. So for me, it's obviously it's a little concerning when any team, struggles at home, but particularly when some of these teams where you expect to see 8-1, 7-2, 6-3 at worst, when all's said and done, and we get to the playoffs, you expect to see a pretty robust home record. You're not seeing that with San Diego. I think that's going to turn around. What's going to be in their favor? they still have a home and home with Vegas. To me, that's 2 winnable games because Vegas is very up and down.
Yep.
They've gone through
Yep.
easily the biggest rebuild of any team this offseason, even more so than Toronto or Calgary. They have a home and home with Philly. Again, 2 winnable games with the way Philly is playing right now and the fact that games that get into sort of shootout mode, Philly doesn't have the horses to keep up. Now, they do have home and home with Saskatchewan. Another fierce rivalry. Maybe they can steal one, hold court at home. The rest of their home games, I think, work in their favor despite the competition that they have. Vancouver, they've already beaten Vancouver on the road. We saw that this past weekend. They have Buffalo at home. So that's travel from the east. They have Halifax at home, another team traveling even further from the east. I think that works in their favor. The rest of their away games, they got another one with Toronto in Toronto. They've got Colorado at Colorado. They have to go to Georgia and they have to go to Oshawa. I think if Chris Irregolari can kind of steady himself and stay consistent, I think they have enough offensive firepower and they have a decent enough defense. They have Trevor Baptiste. So, you're guaranteed a good amount of possessions in most cases in these games, more possessions than your opponent. I'm buying into, I think they're going to turn this around. It's 0-3 at home right now. I don't see why it can't be 6-3 by the end of the season.
Right.
Or at least a winning record, 5-4. So that brings me to Buffalo. Hello, Bandit Land.
You're not right.
Hate me all you want, but we're a third of the way through the season. You've played 6 games, 4 of them already at home. You played half your home schedule already, and you're 2-2 at home. Let's contrast this with San Diego. Here's who they have left at home. Colorado, 4-2. Rochester, currently 4-2. Saskatchewan, 6-1. Vancouver, 3-2, but much improved. And then Philly in the only meeting that they have this season. And I don't care how bad Philly is, it's Wings Bandits. They're going to come in there, hopefully with some intensity. And that's probably going to be a knockdown, drag-out game. I'm not saying that they're going to end up with, a 2-7 record at home, but I'm a little concerned that home record is not going to be what fans are used to seeing, what the players are used to experiencing, or what the league is used to seeing. Now you go to their away schedule. Colorado again. They've got the home and home. They've got a home and home with Sask. So they've got to travel to Sask. They've got to travel to Vancouver. Remember, they're already a third of their way through this schedule. 2 against Colorado, who's in 3rd place. 2 against Saskatchewan, who's in 1st place. 2 against Vancouver, who's ahead of them. And then you have to travel to San Diego. We already discussed that one. There's travel. Your only game against Toronto is in Toronto. And then Oshawa. And hopefully they're buying tickets, but, Maybe Oshawa's already sold out that game with their own folks. So, to me, I'm, they're 3-3. They've lost 2 straight, and it seems like they've played through the easiest part of their schedule and only come out 500. They have injuries.
Right.
Belter's on the shelf, the snooze on the shelf. You've just brought in Mike McCannell. He needs time to get, acclimated with the defensive scheme. You lost 2 pretty major pieces on offense. The replacements for those 2 people, let's face it, they aren't doing so well. Mike Triolo's kind of struggling in that offense. I don't think he's being utilized the same way Derek Keenan was utilizing him in Saskatchewan. When he was being super effective. I mean, he probably had his best year last year. So that's kind of my take on it. And, I really think between the injuries and the schedule that's remaining, Buffalo's got a pretty tough road ahead of them to stay in this. And I mean, we've been talking about it for 5 years straight now. They're getting older. They're not, they're not getting any younger. And, even with losing younger pieces, they brought in older guys like Mitch DeSnew, like Ryan Benesh. And right now, it's not looking like it's working out as well as they had hoped.
Right. No, I see your point there, Mike. But it's going to be interesting. Two good teams to hit on. Shawn, let's look at yours. You had Calgary as a buyer, and you had Vegas as a seller.
Yeah, maybe a little bit controversial here because I know for buying, Calgary, I know has definitely got an uphill battle ahead of themselves with a 1-5 record, but at that same point too, and I kind of throw away that game against Georgia. I'm hoping that's just an anomaly in what we saw out of them there, because other than that, they had, even out of 1-4 record, they only had a -7 goal differential, so they were losing close games. They were right in on those games. As if 1 or 2 bounces went their way, they're putting up wins. And I think as this season goes on, there's a possibility of putting up those W's. And then you just look at the lineup, I know there's no big superstars, but Noah Manning, we've seen, he's been kind of a revelation, especially on that through the draft. Tanner Cook's doing what Tanner Cook you kind of expected him to do. Braden Maye has been outstanding so far and kind of a surprise this year. In goal, Aiden Walsh has actually looked pretty good and is starting to come into his own. Hayden Dixon, Riley Lowens, your steady, veteran. Tyler Pace, even on defense, you still have Eli Slama, Braden Laddie. You've got, a good face-off guy in Justin Inacio. I do feel like they're just on the cusp of something here. If they just, like I said, get 1 or 2 bounces, they're going to start racking up wins. It's going to be an uphill battle. The chances are they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but I could see them kind of moving their way up the standings as kind of the season goes on. As for Las Vegas, I'm still not sold on their goaltending situation. I'm still not sold on their defensive situation. I think it's just too inconsistent. We've seen too many games where their defense has been pretty much non-existent. And again, you look at their schedule coming up too. Oshawa, Georgia, Colorado, Vancouver, Halifax, Rochester, back-to-back with Rochester, Calgary, Colorado again. They got a tough schedule. You do have Philadelphia and San Diego to end the game or end the year, but they've got a tough schedule this back half as well. And if they can't shore up their goaltending and can't shore up that defense, I mean, you're going to see a lot of games kind of like Saskatchewan where they're going to put up a lot of goals, but they're going to give up a ton as well.
Right.
And on that too, I mean, they're a 500 team, but they've got a -4 goal differential, which is kind of concerning, especially on all the changes that have been made this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I have a fairly, well, shall we say, controversial in my picks too. Georgia, I think, is better than they have played so far, and I think you just saw it this past weekend how good they can be. And they're sitting at 3-3 right now, but they've had next to no scoring for, if not half of those games, more than half of those games. And we have seen very little production from Brian Cole. We've seen very little production from Lyle Thompson up until this past weekend when everything all of a sudden the stars started to align. And you take a look at, Caleb Benedict. I've been touting him for 2 years now. He's healthy. He looked great on the weekend. Nolan Byrne, he's new, and he just is fit right in. Brian Cole, we talked about. Torrin Ecclestone, just back. Jacob Hickey, moving up and always seems to be in the play. Shane Jackson goes without saying, former MVP. Jordan McIntosh for transition is there. Keen Moon comes out of nowhere, and he looked good. So, there's a number of Kazen Tarbell, another transition gun. Lyle Thompson, of course. So there's all kinds of things there. Now, we haven't even talked about a guy like Ben Trumbull, who they've got listed as a defenseman, but I've seen him really, good hands. You can easily throw him up as a forward in this mix. You talk about Seth Van Scheppen, who's, is he long in the tooth? Not really. Been around for a while, but, still a young gun, so to speak. But the one thing that Eddie Como has been able to do over the years is stockpile picks, and for just such an event. If they think that they can go just that little bit further, they're just as shrewd as a chugger is in Buffalo to pick up the right piece at the right time to go on that run. I think they're primed to do something. Lyle Thompson said it best in the post-game interview on Saturday, going, we're basically a young bunch of guys. They're just trying to find it and get it together. And it's taken them a little ways, third of the season. But if Saturday is any idea of what's about to happen, this is going to be one exciting, explosive team. And a few veteran pieces to help with some of the youth that's in there may not be a bad thing. And they have enough in the thing. I don't think it's going to hurt them if one or two of those young guns get moved around to get an opportunity, because they may not get an opportunity to do it here in Georgia. Defensive-wise, I don't think they have any problems. They haven't given up many goals, and Brett Dobson's on his game. Where I see a bit of a problem is if he gets hurt. And I don't know if Devlin Shanahan is the answer. He certainly wasn't the answer in Buffalo. And then he gets confusing because he has a great summer. And then he comes back and is sort of, because it didn't look great even in this one here where the game was already sealed this past weekend. 5 goals on 10 shots is not, lighting it up in my eyes, unless you're on offense. So I'm wondering if maybe there is somebody out there as a backup, not as a starter, but if you want to shop around to get a backup just in case. And, get yourself in order there. Because I just, God forbid Dobson gets hurt and, he's physical. He's a physical player. He's also a diabetic. So there's a number of things that can go wrong if the things aren't aligned correctly. I'd hate to see something like that is what derails a good run that Georgia could have this year. Now, looking at Vancouver, and I would put them as my disappointment of the year. The one place I would expect them to win is home. Where are they getting their losses? Home. Both of them are there. You have all the pieces to have an absolute all-star team. We talk about some of the other teams that are all-stars, and Buffalo and all these other things that are one layer after another. Toronto in that respect now. But you take a look. They just made a deal and got Max Adler, so they sorted out their face-off spot. Did they? Keegan Ball, Reed Bowering, Adam Charlemagne-Beatties, Peyton Cormier, who has seen very, very limited action, and I don't know why. This guy set all kinds of records, NCAA. He did all kinds of great things in OJLL. He's primed and ready to take the next leap, and for some reason, we can't seem to find a spot for him in any one game. Curtis Dixon, of course. But over the last number of years, later in the season, age creeps in. Will he still be, doing what he's doing now? And if the team isn't winning with him doing it healthy, they sure as hell aren't going to do it when he's not. That worries me a little bit. I look at some of the defense, right? Well, never mind Jesse King also, right? Marcus Clarich. It's an all-star team that is underperforming at the nth degree in my eyes. And we can sit there and go, well, they're just gelling. So is Toronto. And they seem to have found it pretty quickly now. Vancouver hasn't had that game that has convinced me that they're there. And a lot of these guys played with each other before in Calgary. They know each other. They respect each other. They have all the talking points are great. And then we come up with these games, and if we just take a look, the opener, the big touted opener, they lose to a wounded Colorado team 10-7 at home. You go into Las Vegas and you just, you annihilate them. But you go into Oshawa and you are lucky to come away with an 8-6 victory. You play a, quote-unquote wounded Calgary team and you come away with a 1-goal victory there, 11-10. You go into a wounded San Diego team and you lose 11-9. Does it get easier? Well, no. No, you have Ottawa, who's rolling right now. You have Rochester the next week, who, after a bye week, with the exception of the second half that they played against Toronto, has been looking absolutely stunning this year. You then wind up with another Rochester game because it's back-to-back, home and home. And then you get to Saskatchewan the week after that. Does it get easy? Hang on. Then you get Buffalo. Then you get Vegas again. So is this going to be an easy ride? Now, I'm already at the end of February here. I haven't seen a break yet. I haven't seen a game where it's like, yep, that one we just mark it off. I worry about that. Should we be looking at, all right, keep the main pieces and see what we can get for some of the other pieces? Maybe some of the older pieces in there. Maybe it's, I would move out things. I want to see Peyton Cormier in the lineup. I want to give him a chance. It's going to be sink or swim. And if he's not going to be an avid piece for me, then he's one of the pieces I cast off. And I get whatever I can. Hopefully, as a first-round pick, I'm still able to get quite a bit because you just take a look at the lineage. I would look at some of the other, I just got Jesse King in there. Yeah, I just got Curtis Dixon. Well, if it's not working, it's not working. And I know I can get a lot from another team for the future. And I'm starting to wonder when is the mark? Did I start looking at that? We're at the third mark now. Do we wait till the half mark? If the things haven't improved, great. If they have improved, never mind. And we just keep going. No harm, no foul. But my Spockian eyebrow is already raised on a team that we just touted as making, winning the summer. Them in Vegas were touted as winning the summer. Vegas has had problems. Vancouver's had problems. And this is on established players. It's one thing if you're doing it in the draft. Like I say, I keep bringing up Toronto, but 3 first-round picks. 2 of those first-round picks are in the lineup. One hasn't even come in the lineup yet. The other first-round pick is from last year's draft. with Sam English. His brother Ty still to come next year with the other first round pick that they have. So they have an entire facelift over 2 years and already starting to look like they're reaping the benefits. So when is the cutoff point, do you think, that Vancouver has to go, okay, we have to see what works, what doesn't work, and then we can start looking at what we can get package value and move there. Because don't forget, you have a fickle fan base. Now, it's a lot easier to get them there because they're on SkyTrain and they're downtown and they're here and there and blah. But they're still, everybody loves to go to a winner. Nobody wants to go and see a team that's 1-9. Nobody wants to see a team that's just barely hanging on. Is not interesting, especially when it's that highly touted. Ran over. I hope I'm wrong in 2 weeks' time and they've won the next 2 games convincingly, because I like this group. But
Maybe I think that's a good. I think it's a good point. For in the case of all of our picks, the point you made about seeing what's working, seeing what isn't working, and potentially making moves to cast off what isn't working.
Right.
By the time
we wholesale changes.
Yeah, I mean, by the time we get to week 14, remember week 14 is that crazy week where there's 10 games on the slate, and close to half the teams in the league have double headers that weekend. That's right at the beginning of March, so that's still before the trade deadline, I believe. So now you're going to be pretty much at that point. You're 2/3 of the way through the season by week, and you're just about 2/3 of the way through the season, just in terms of number of games.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Yeah.
So even though schedule's backloaded, even though schedule's backloaded, you kind of level out right at that crazy week.
I'm figuring we visit this thing again at the halfway point, because then it's cut bait or fish, one of the two.
Yeah.
And then we're only weeks away from the trade deadline, and we really have to make decisions on: are we going? Are we not? Do we have a chance to do it? Do we not have a chance to do it? And if we can get clarity at that point, and then see, and then it's easy to say, I want to get rid of him. I want to get rid of him. Nobody's going to give you anything for him or him. You may have to give till it hurts.
Yeah.
And get something in
Colorado
return.
did for Jack Hanna.
Yeah, we go back to our Thompson's conversation too, right? Like sometimes you got to give up a lot if you're going to go through a rebuild. And it goes to Gary's point about the draft picks. I mean, look at the successful teams, Saskatchewan, Georgia. They built through a draft, getting young talent in. And yeah, you're going to have your bumps and lumps the first couple of years as they kind of.
I would even go with Banditland, tell you the truth, because if you look at it, they drafted Dane. They drafted Josh. They drafted 2/3 of the people who are on there, and then they filled in the other spots with veterans. Whereas location, using that to their advantage. Toronto used to do that. Then they started going and getting rid of their picks and just pulling in people, and noticed that the success stopped. Was the last time, that 2015, I think, when they're in the finals. And that's when they were supposed to win it and lost to a determined Aaron Bold and the Edmonton team. Yeah. And from that point on, they really haven't been that interested in the draft. When, funny enough, when they do the draft, who do they get? Challen Rogers. Who do they get? Josh Dalwick. Who do they get? Sam English. Who do they get? CJ Kirst. Owen Hiltz. Ty English. They're very successful when they do use the draft, but it's a lot easier when you find somebody else's first round pick and just trade a bunch of people for Mark Matthews. Now that he's healthy, you're starting to see the fruits of that one, but it's taken 3 years. Because before that, far and away, Saskatchewan laughed their way right through that trade.
Yeah, I mean, what they get, a young guy in Zach Mans who was just chomping at the bit. He just needed floor time.
Yep. Same thing I hazard to say, but when Brian Cameron finally makes it into the lineup, we're going to see the same thing there. But, there's only so many spots on a roster. And right now with this new resurgence of first round picks, Toronto has to do what they have to do. I may not recognize the team by the time they're done after next draft, but it's a long time in coming. And there's an enthusiasm. There is a invigoration. When I watched, Latrell Harris is on the IR, but the last guy off the floor yesterday was CJ Kirst. And he was signing and taking pictures with everybody out there, anybody who wanted him, take as much time as he. And there's Trelly just waiting at the door for him to come off the floor so that they can go and walk back and celebrate. The team didn't do any of the celebrations in there until everybody was in. They waited till Kirst came in. That's the youth and vigorous. I was talking with Rylan Hartley after the game, and he kind of knew that the things were going to change because Cod was his coach in Orangeville. And the one thing he said about the Toronto team is they don't quit. They never quit. It doesn't matter if you're down, doesn't matter if you're successful, just don't quit. Good things will happen eventually. Just don't quit. How many times have we seen teams that just go, meh? Those are losers. Character. How many times have I said it on the show? Character wins cups. If you don't have character, you do not win. When you play for the front of the jersey, not the back, you win. That's when guys will do anything for anybody on their team. That's what Saskatchewan's got. Is it lightning in a bottle? Not really. But to get the right chemistry in there so you have character, that's what you need to look for. Doesn't always mean you have the top 3 scorers in the league. That's not going to win in the playoffs. Bandits have proved that a number of years. I don't think they've been at the top of the league once when they've won the championship.
Derek Keenan always says rock.
They knocked Toronto off twice when they were number 1. Character.
Yeah.
Buffalo had character.
I was going to say Derek Keenan always says rock, chisel, hammer. Just put in the work.
That's it. And be ready to do something for your teammate.
Yep.
It's not about you and your contract. It's nice, but it's not the reason. Lacrosse of all things, where none of us are getting rich. Right? If there's any quote unquote real team sport, that's lacrosse. And we see it. And you see the teams that are successful. And you see the teams that should be that aren't. And then you hear about chemistry. Well, chemistry is a weak term in my eyes. Character. That's what wins championships. The character of your team. It goes right on up through your coaching, through your management, character of the organization. If they care, it's easy to see if they don't. If you fake it, people know it. If you're going through the motions, people know it. And then you lose your fan base. Character. And it only takes one to kind of throw it off, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So I say we'll revisit this in a couple of weeks' time when we're at the halfway point, when it means a little bit more and we have a few more games under our belt, because there's some interesting weeks coming up. And I think it's funny to say it here. Here we are in week 7, week 8, and we're talking about pivotal games. But really, when you have no divisions and you have the kind of parity that this league has, every game is important, because you may only play that team once, and that may be the tie break that makes you into 8th from 9th, that makes you 4th from 5th for home floor. That's the difference. So when you're looking at, oh man, if only we could win that game in week 21, if you could only win that game in week 2, maybe you wouldn't have been in that position in 21. So everything matters. It's just we don't put the emphasis on it. And maybe we should. All right, let's leave it there. A great week, guys. Some great conversations. Some great thought. Great ideas, Mike. I want to remind everybody that we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Thread, we're on YouTube, as well as being on www.streampunkentertainment.com. Please visit us, especially on our flagship on Facebook, 3, 4, 5 times a day, as the news is always changing. And it is our privilege as well as our pleasure to keep you up to date with accuracy and speed of what is going on in our leagues. We are your one-stop shop for all things lacrosse. We are your Costco of lacrosse. That brings us to last words. Mike, let's start with you this week. Final words.
I'm looking forward to a better week, pick'ems wise.
I'm with you,
Yeah,
brother.
next week.
Aren't we all?
But no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with every game counts, and I can't, I mean, here I am talking about buying into San Diego, and they're going into a home and home with Philly, and you can't just walk in there thinking that just because Philly's next to last in the league that it's going to be a walk in the park.
Yep.
So
right, it's going to be very interesting. We talked about that last week with Pat, and I think if Pat was here this week, he couldn't make it due to work commitments. But if he was here this week, I think we'd have a little bit of a different take. Now that we've seen the San Diego team that seems to have the right end upward, and again, it comes down to why they really didn't make any of our lists. Well, one list, but as a buyer though. So if it was another game like last week, I'm curious if that would have been on the seller side, Mike.
for San Diego, yeah, quite
Something
possibly.
to think about anyways, yeah. So it's not something to put you on the spot on that one, but yeah, whether it stayed in that column or whatever, because I know if Toronto didn't have a game like yesterday, that almost would have been on my radar. Okay, is it too early to think about the picks, and is it when do you say that they gel and they don't? But
Yeah,
happy to see
I
they
mean,
did.
I'd have to say that had Vancouver forced overtime and come out of that game with the win, I probably would have been in Shawn's camp, and I probably would have had Calgary as my buy.
Right. All right, let's go to Shawn for his final words for this week.
Yeah, kind of similar to Mike, about the every game matters. And as you mentioned too, I just find it interesting, two of the teams that we had, quote unquote, winning free agency are now we have as sellers. I find that really interesting. And as we mentioned, maybe that's teams are going to have to start looking at other ways and the way they build their teams.
I agree. I'm with you on Mike. God, I hope the gods are with me so I can get more than 2 right, even though there's only 4 games. I can only get 2 right when there's 8 games. So then I get 1. I such a good start, and then I've just watched it. I feel like the cliffhanger and the old Price is Right. Yodeling. So I'm hoping to get the my side, right side up, unlike some of these teams. I love the topic. And I think about us and the chemistry and the character that is in this show. And I thank everybody, as always, for all the hard work and effort that goes into doing this week in and week out, day in and day out, between the articles and all the other things that go into making sure that you guys at home have all of the stats and all of the numbers and all of the things that you can understand the game easily and enjoy it immensely like we do. So for this week, that'll wrap us up. Remember that we are on every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Super Bowl is coming soon, guys. That'll be an 11 a.m. start for that day. But for the next week anyways, we will be at 8 p.m. as always, Eastern. And until then, remember, keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher. And until we meet again next Sunday at 8 p.m., have a great week, everybody. Take care.